In this podcast, we delve into Algocraft's Write before programmers, designed for off-board programming of microcontrollers and memory devices. We discuss their ability to program up to 8 devices simultaneously, their modularity with interchangeable adapters for various chip packages, DIP, SOIC, BGA, and how these features boost efficiency in industries like automotive, consumer electronics, and medical devices. The podcast also covers the flexibility of these programmers, their role in reducing production costs, and how they fit into modern manufacturing workflows. Algocraft products are available through Codelec, the French leader in the field of electronic component testing.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready to dive into some really cool tech today. We're talking in situ programming and testing the stuff that's totally changing how electronics get made.
Yeah, and it's not just some niche thing either. This stuff affects everything. We're talking smartphones, cars, you name it.
Absolutely. And what's got us really interested is this company that's offering a whole range of programmers. Each one is specifically designed for certain parts of the manufacturing process. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's really smart, actually. They've got it down to a science.
So we've got 3 big players to unpack here. Right Now,
Yeah.
ISP, and Write. Before, they've got those catchy names, which I have to say is good marketing, but they also kind of give you a clue about what each one is best at.
Yeah, like that first one you mentioned right now. That one's all about speed, like pure speed, especially for those huge production lines.
And that's where the details in the source material about its parallel processing get really interesting. So instead of programming just one device at a time, this thing can handle multiple devices all at once, simultaneously. Can you imagine the time you save when you're making millions of these things?
Oh, yeah. It's huge. I mean, think about it. It's like having, I don't know, like 10 assembly lines all working at the same time instead of just one. That's a game changer when it comes to keeping costs down and getting products out there quickly.
It's like the difference between waiting in a single line that's a mile long and then suddenly, boom, they open up like 20 more registers. And it's not limited to just one type of chip either, which I thought was super cool.
Right. It can handle a whole bunch of different microcontrollers and flash memory types. It makes it super versatile.
Totally. So you can be talking about programming simple sensors or complex stuff like the computers they put in cars, all with the same system.
Exactly. And speaking of cars, think about how complex those systems are becoming these days. You've got ECUs, electronic control units that manage everything.
Oh yeah, like all the engine stuff, the safety features, even the entertainment systems.
And they all need to be programmed and they need to work flawlessly together. And that's where something like the Right Now would be a game changer.
Yeah, reliability at scale, that's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the speed demon, the Right Now. Now let's move on to what we're calling the precisionist, the BSP programmer.
And this one is all about in situ programming and testing, right? So we're talking about doing it right there on the production line itself.
Exactly. It's about making sure those components are going to work perfectly in their final product, not just, in isolation.
Right. It's like you don't just want to make sure the engine works. You want to make sure it works perfectly when it's actually in the car. Wow.
Exactly. It's like a built-in quality control check at every step of the way. You're catching any issues right away rather than like waiting till the end and realizing something's not working and having to start all over again.
It's a huge time saver for sure. And it also makes it super useful for companies that are doing those smaller production runs or making really customized stuff where, precision is super important.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the third one, the Write before. I mean, come on, even the name is intriguing.
Right. So off-board programming, that's the key phrase here. It means they're actually programming the components before they even get installed in the final device.
Algocraft products are available through Codelec, the French leader in the field of electronic component testing.
Wild, right?
Yeah, it's like they're saying, let's make sure each individual piece of the puzzle is perfect before we even start putting it together.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
And the cool thing is that their Write before actually uses that same Right Now technology we were talking about earlier for those standalone programming stations. So you're combining that speed we talked about with the benefits of this off-board testing.
Best of both worlds. So for the Write, before the source material highlighted a couple of key features. I mean, get this, it can handle up to 8 devices at the same time. 8? That just seems wild to me.
There's that parallel processing magic again. But it's not just about raw power, right? The Write before also has this really smart modular design, which is super important in this industry.
Okay, so break it down for me. What does modular mean in this context? Like, what's the advantage there?
So microchips, they don't all look the same, right? They come in different shapes and sizes, what they call packages. You've got your DIPs, your SOICs, your BGAs.
Yeah, I've seen those terms thrown around, but never really knew what they meant. It's all a bit of alphabet soup to me.
Yeah, they sound kind of technical, but basically it just refers to how the chip is actually connected to the circuit board. Anyway, the point is the write before can adapt to work with all those different kinds of chip packages.
Okay, so it's like having one tool that can handle a whole bunch of different jobs.
Exactly. They use these special adapters that let it work with all those different types of chips. And that kind of flexibility is super valuable, especially for companies that are dealing with a lot of different components.
For sure. Okay, so we've got these three super cool programmers, each with its own thing it's good at. But I'm curious, who benefits the most from all of this? Like, yeah, it's great for electronics manufacturing, but what does that actually look like in the real world? Give me some examples.
Oh, there are tons of examples. Like, off the top of my head, the automotive industry immediately comes to mind.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially with electric cars becoming more and more popular and all the complex electronics that go into those.
Exactly. We're talking about programming everything from those ECUs, the ones that control the engine and make sure it's running smoothly, to the really complex systems behind those driver assistance features you see in some cars now.
It's mind-blowing when you think about how much our cars rely on these tiny little chips working perfectly, right?
Totally. But it's not just cars. Think about all the consumer electronics out there. Smartphones, TVs, smart appliances. It's crazy how much we rely on them.
It's like we're swimming in a sea of gadgets. It's like a tidal wave of devices, and they all need those tiny chips.
And we can't forget about medical devices. Talk about high stakes.
Absolutely. You can't mess around when it comes to medical devices. Accuracy and reliability are non-negotiable. Like, a tiny error in the programming could have huge consequences.
Right.
It really makes you appreciate those programmers, doesn't it? They're like the unsung heroes making sure our pacemakers don't go haywire.
It's true. You don't really think about it until something goes wrong, right?
Right. And speaking of things going wrong, it seems like these programming advancements might actually be a solution to a big problem we've been seeing lately, specifically with supply chains.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good point. Because when you can program components closer to where they're actually going to be used, it means companies aren't as reliant on, like, getting those chips from specific places or suppliers.
So it's not just about speed and being more efficient. It's also about being, like, more adaptable if something disrupts the supply chain, right?
Exactly. It's like having a backup plan. And that actually leads to a bigger question here. If we're already at this level of, like, speed and flexibility in programming, what does that mean for the future of manufacturing? What's coming next?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Like, are we talking even faster programming, even more adaptable systems? What's on the horizon?
Well, the source material hinted at some pretty wild stuff. Imagine being able to, like, order a custom-designed device, your dream phone, a medical device tailored to you, and then having it programmed and built on the spot.
Whoa, hold on. Personalized gadgets. That sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? It sounds crazy, but the technology is already kind of heading in that direction.
Yeah.
Faster programming, more adaptable systems, the ability to program things closer to the end user, it all adds up.
Okay, so maybe personalized gadgets aren't that far off after all. It's pretty amazing how one advancement can lead to so many possibilities.
Algocraft products are available through Codelec, the French leader in the field of electronic component testing.
Speaking of advancements, there was something in the source material that blew my mind a little bit. It mentioned that the right now technology, it's not just about programming, it can actually test the components as well.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's one thing to write the software, but you also got to make sure it actually works with the hardware, that they play nicely together.
So it's like this built-in quality control system all the way from programming the chip to making sure it performs how it's supposed to.
Exactly. And that's a big deal for industries where even a small mistake can be a huge problem. Think about airplanes, for example. A faulty chip in the navigation system, that's not good.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Lives are at stake. Okay, so it all comes back to that need for precision and reliability, which these programmers, they're kind of quietly making sure of every single day.
They're like the silent guardians of our electronics. And the cool thing is, this tech, it's not standing still. The source material talked about how these programmers are always evolving, getting faster, working with more types of components. It's a constant evolution.
It's like that saying, the only constant is change. But like in a good way. And that actually brings up another interesting thought. So if we've already come this far with programming technology, like what's next? What other industries could this impact down the line?
Oh man, that's where it gets really interesting. I mean, we've talked about cars and phones and medical devices, but this stuff has the potential to change like almost every industry you can think of.
Okay, now you've got me curious. Give me some examples. Like what else could be totally revolutionized by faster, more flexible programming?
Algocraft products are available through Codelec, the French leader in the field of electronic component testing.
All right, well, what about personalized medicine? Imagine having medical devices programmed with your specific genetic information or implants with like customized rehab routines.
Whoa, that's next level personalized healthcare. So instead of getting like a one-size-fits-all treatment, we're talking about devices and treatments designed specifically for you.
Exactly. But it goes even further than just healthcare. Imagine ordering furniture that's not only, made to your exact measurements, but also programmed to like adapt to how you use it over time.
Okay, now that's just cool. Furniture that changes as you need it to. What will they think of next? It's amazing to think that this whole push for faster, more adaptable programming could have such a huge impact on so many different things.
It really shows you how everything's connected, doesn't it? Like a breakthrough in one area can unlock all kinds of crazy possibilities in other areas.
Totally. One little innovation in programming could change the world as we know it.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole field so exciting. As these in situ programming and testing solutions keep getting better, who knows what they'll be able to do next? What other industries will they transform? The possibilities are endless, really.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it. And to everyone listening, this is a reminder to never underestimate those little tech advancements. What seems small and insignificant today could end up changing everything tomorrow.
Couldn't agree more. Stay curious, keep asking questions, and you never know what amazing things you'll discover.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of in situ programming and testing. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing.
Algocraft products are available through Codelec, the French leader in the field of electronic component testing.